What are you doing?
I mean, a donut.
Why didn't you do that 1 second earlier before you hit the record button?
I just wanted a donut.
Have you thought about how that would feel for the people on the other end?
No.
What kind of monster would open a podcast eating a pastry?
You've done it.
What?
Welcome to No Dumb Questions. I'm Destin Sandlin, and I'm with my podcast partner.
My name's Matt Whitman, and it's nice to internet meet you if we've never met before.
I really like doing stiff intros like that because Matt doesn't like it. So,
and as we discovered yesterday when we were recording, you also don't like it.
Whatever.
It was the first time you were ever on the receiving end, and that's never going to see the light of day.
Stop it. So I have something I would like to just lob at you today.
Yes? Okay.
There's a concept called overfitting, and it is used in machine learning. It's an interesting concept because I think it actually comes into play in our lives more than we think. It's a weird thing that our brains do. I think my brain does it. To be clear, I'm not a machine learning expert, any of this stuff. However, it's a really strange thing that I think actually affected your YouTube channel for a while. So
now I'm super interested.
Let's just play out this scenario. Let's say that you're driving.
Okay.
And this car cuts you off.
Jerk.
And this car is driving in a particular way. Doesn't matter what it is. Maybe they're more aloof than normal. Maybe they're, I don't know, they're not responsive or something like that.
There was just something about it. You can tell when it ain't right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah,
So,
I can feel it.
Sorry, I'm still eating the donut.
Why would you apologize?
So you go to pass the car.
Yeah.
You know, you avoid having the wreck. You go to pass the car. Do you look at the driver?
100% yes, every single time without it. Yes, every single.
Why?
I want to know what the heck kind of person does that. I want to further examine them, and I want to psychoanalyze them based on their profile as they operate their vehicle. So if I look over and they're screaming into a phone or trying to bang out a text and driving with their knee, I'm like, oh, that's how you got that one wrong. If they're ugly, I'm like, because you're ugly. That's why. So ugly. If they're pretty, it's because you're vain. Like, it doesn't matter what they are. I'm going to assign something negative to it to make me feel better about the way they mistreated me.
So you're building the database.
Yes, I am.
What is that data? So you see what I'm saying?
Oh, I thought, yeah, I forgot what we were doing. My brain had transitioned over to me being a judgmental jerk and over-assuming about people because I feel mistreated on the road. But I'm building a database of pattern recognition is what you're talking about. I see a certain type of vehicle or certain type of behavior, and I know there's a greater proclivity for that vehicle to behave this way. This is what comedians depend on to make, it's funny because it's true jokes work, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so have you seen the comedian that goes through all these different racial profiles, and he tells you, like, if you had this kind of person driving this NASCAR, it would be funny. And the reason it's funny is because it fits the stereotypes. And he's making all these jokes that you're not allowed to make. You've seen this.
But no, I don't get it. So how does he get off the hook for making jokes you're not allowed to make?
I don't know. He just does it.
There's a way to thread that needle.
Right. I don't know. He
like,
just does
for
it.
example, if you go with incorrect stereotypes. So if you're cracking jokes about people's database that they've gathered over time and you're doing stand-up or something, you might bomb on the first couple, but by the third one, people will know what you're doing. But comedy, which is a very difficult art, I think it does heavily depend on that database so that everybody's putting together.
So what is the point of this database? Now, I think, depending on how you look at it, the idea is to make a judgment.
Yes.
You said you're going to drive by that person, you're going to look at them, you're going to judge them.
Oh, that was partially self-deprecation. But part of the reason I really actually want to look is, yeah, I'm building a database. I don't want that experience again.
What is the profile of a bad driver?
Yes.
Turns out it's a 95-year-old person that can't see over the steering wheel.
I would love to see the evolutionary biologist data on humans who carefully look and evaluate after someone does something dangerous in their presence versus people who don't. My guess is that people who gradually accumulate this data and are like, I don't know what it is, but there's something about that particular Chevy driver who does that particular little thing at a stoplight that always results, or more often results rather, in this dangerous behavior. I would have to think from an evolutionary biology point of view that this is an advantageous thing that people do, or from the theistic creationist point of view, this is something that is part of the image of God that he has built into us so that we don't die immediately.
So the function of whatever this is to make approximations.
Sure.
And these approximations get us at least closer to an answer.
Like
for example,
sure. Okay.
Like for example, you hear this noise in the woods. You go out, you're going to take your trash out at night, and you're right next to like this big patch of woods, and you're walking, and you're a little bit scared, but you're a 40-year-old man, so you're telling yourself you're not scared of the dark, and all of a sudden, out of the corner, you hear, wow.
That was okay. First of all, I understand we're talking about a thing. It really matters and everything, but that was great.
That was pretty good.
What you just did.
I
really expected it to be hot garbage, and it was shockingly good. So first, I want to congratulate you on that. Second,
what was that?
I mean, some kind of cat. That to me sounded like a cat of some sort.
A mountain lion.
Mountain lion, maybe like some kind of bobcat. It's something that doesn't like being cornered, and it's got pointy teeth.
Right, pointy teeth.
I'm not letting it go.
Yeah. So exactly. So that was an approximation. That was your brain making a judgment on a sound and saying, what does that sound like? And
everything of that volume and basically that texture of sound, when I've seen what's attached to it, it could hurt me.
Yeah.
Even if I totally whiffed on genus and species and all of that, I still know that if it makes that sound at a certain volume, it can hurt me.
Okay, let's talk about this for a second. So your brain just approximated what it might be. I could have just as easily made a fox sound or a
no one knows what the fox says.
I know, right? Or an elephant sound.
Okay, sure.
I'm actually going to try that. You ready?
Yeah.
I can't do it.
That so sounded like a fart. Just like a really painful. You've been working on it all day. You're on a date, and now you're like you're 90 minutes into this thing, and you're at dinner, and it's like, okay, I really need to leave, and you're making whale sounds in your abdomen. It's like, bye now. It's really nice to meet you. Bye-bye. Car door shuts. That sound immediately happens. But I could, sort of an elephant too, sure.
Yeah, so your brain is approximating what these things might be.
Mm-hmm.
How is it doing that? From where are you drawing the data to infer the answer? I think it's called inference, but how are you inferring the answer? How are you making that approximation?
At the most basic level, every time I've experienced this with one or more of my five senses, it turns out to be this. And then you have varying degrees of certitude. So, for example, every time somebody walks by me and they look a little hunchy and weird and skulky, most of the time, that is not an issue. But every time an elderly lady walks by me with her walker, it's not an issue. So though there's a very slim chance that either of those encounters on the sidewalk will create any issue, my guard does not go up at all for grandma with walker, with the tennis balls on the feet. But it's going to go up a little bit more because, no, I can actually picture an incident or two where someone who was skulking actually confronted me and it was something of an issue. That pattern recognition isn't just about certitude. It's really a percentage calculation that your brain runs to say, how do I need to change my behavior, alter my awareness, alter my patterns to accommodate relative risk with whatever I'm being presented with. And it's amazing to think about how quickly that calculates in your head.
It's called a statistical model. Like your brain has built a statistical model, and you were then trying to infer like an answer based on all the dots on the graph. Like imagine a bunch of dots on a graph, and you're trying to like draw a line through that and be like, it's about right here. There's a visualization on the Wikipedia page, for example, talking about overfitting. And the visualization is a bunch of blue dots and a bunch of red dots. There's kind of this boundary between the two, but not really. and there's a line that ends up showing you the boundary, and that line is kind of fuzzy. It's not exact. It's some of the blue dots are over in the red zone, some of the red dots are over in the blue zone, but you can kind of like imagine that, oh, that's kind of the boundary. And so if I get a data point that's this X coordinate, this Y coordinate, it's probably going to be blue.
Yeah.
But if it was a little lower in the Y coordinate, it's red, definitely. That's just because of all the historical data that I have.
Yes.
My statistical analysis said it's going to be this.
Yes, and this is very reliable, but not reliable enough to get a court conviction.
So you and I were in the car yesterday, and somebody cut us off in an 18-wheeler.
Like an idiot.
Yes.
You were at speed.
Yes.
In an area of town where our good friend
Dale Jr.
once said, something stupid happens here every time you drive through this quarter mile. Don't look at your phone. Don't look away. Look at the road. Pay attention. I was like, yes, sir. Okay. You know the lay of the land. I don't. He is so right.
He is.
That stretch, if you told me, what's the stupidest stretch in the United States of America that you with any regularity drive, I once would have said Malfunction Junction in Missoula, Montana. I think that's been fixed since then. I would now say whatever that thing is on that one stretch of road in Alabama, it's stupid. Something dumb happens every time, and we were almost through it.
I want to defend my great state, but you're right.
You know what I think of Alabama.
I know. I'm just saying, you're absolutely right about this.
We got cutting boards for Christmas for Camilla of all the places we love, all the places we've lived since we've been a family. We got Alabama. Like we've been here enough, and we feel enough affection for this place.
That's good.
We got Nevada, Nebraska, Colorado. We got Alabama on the wall, dude. So
that's great.
You don't need to defend your state. I'll defend it for you. This place is awesome.
Thank you.
That stretch of road, however, you could just cut that off with like some kind of circular saw on each end and throw it into the ocean, and it'd probably be best for everybody. It's horrible. And the only thing they have to eat in there is some stupid burger. Anyway, that's not good.
Cut grenades.
Cut grenades. So this guy, you're driving. You're doing everything that makes sense. You are in the right-hand lane, and you are at speed coming up on a green light that has been green. You and I both saw it. Here comes a dude in a fully loaded 18-wheeler. He's coming up to that light on our right way too fast, and he just rolls right through it. He just, I guess, fully expected that you would stop or do something to accommodate his horrible decision-making. There, now I've described the incident, so you didn't have to defend yourself on that. I'll defend you. You were right. He was an idiot.
Okay, and then as we go to pass this guy, we had a quasi-debate. It was all in jest, but I said, I want to look at the driver because I want to know what he looks like. However, I'm not going to because I don't want to feed into stereotypes in my brain. Now,
what stereotype were you afraid of feeding?
I don't know, but even in the statement, I already assumed the person was a man.
How about that?
Because of how he drove. I didn't look.
Because how can you know if somebody's a man or a woman based on how they drive, Dustin?
I have no idea. I just know that it was a man.
Do you really have no idea? Because I have an idea.
What's the idea there?
They make totally different mistakes. There are things that a dude will do, a mistake that a guy will often make that a woman will just never make. They just don't do that because it's a mistake of up yours and it's a mistake of aggression. And dudes will do it. Like, for example, this one. We're driving down the interstate. Dude's doing 63 and a 75. I go to pass. Perfectly normal. As I go by, wait, what the heck?
He sped up.
I'm going to do 79. Like, why are you doing that? You were perfectly happy a second ago until you saw me.
You're right.
And then comparison, which is the robber of joy, ruined your drive. And now we're running neck and neck on a completely empty interstate where we've taken our risk percentage through the roof compared to what it was a second ago. Why are you like, because you're a dude?
Bonus points if that happens on a 2-lane road in the middle of nowhere and you're trying to pass before the hill comes up right ahead.
So much better. Yeah.
That the same thing happens there.
Whereas women psychologically just hit a lot of trash cans.
That's not funny, and that's violence.
Yes, I know.
You just committed violence, and that's not allowed.
Okay, seriously though, this is the difference. Like the ladies, they will make the mistake of, I'm trying to take care of a lot of other things.
Sir, you are in dangerous territory.
I know.
Speak carefully.
Oh, I fully know what I'm doing here. I get it.
I don't think you do.
And I'm at peace with it.
Okay.
The mistakes have a different look. The mistake will be kind of the casual drift while checking a thing, probably like 6 kids in the back of the minivan. So I get it. It's okay. No judgment. But if I see that, like if I see a minivan and it is fading,
waiting
that's
for the
not
correction.
a dude. It's not a dude. And if that correction is massive, it's not a dude. That is the protective instinct of a mom who is trying to take care of too many things at once. And then that, I got to protect my kids, mama bear kicks in, and the overcorrection happens. It's not how a dude corrects out of that mistake. And how often am I right when we drive by? You could get Camilla on here and she would tell you, like she knows that I think those are dude mistakes, those are woman mistakes. Rarely do the twine meet. And I'm almost always right. But of course there are exceptions because you got your little graphy graph over here with your little red dots and blue dots. And they drift into other places. Can we still have a podcast, or should I leave?
I think we're done. I think you just ended the whole podcast.
This is a really nice time. Want to thank the patrons for your investment in our friendship and all of this.
It was great. We enjoyed having you guys. Yeah. That is how you end things these days, isn't it?
I guess it is. This episode of No Dumb Questions is brought to you by RAYCON, and as I understand it, the whole idea behind founding the company was that they were setting out to make earbuds that sounded awesome that normal people could afford. Destin, in your experience, do they sound awesome?
They do sound awesome, and they've gotten better over the years. I've had Raycons for a long time now, and the quality just keeps going up.
Yeah, I'm finding the same thing. I've got every generation of Raycons, and I was happy with the first round of them, but I'm super ultra happy with the stuff I'm using now.
You know they're good when people in the family steal them. You know it's like, oh yeah, I can't keep them because they are taken from me. So one of the things I like about Raycon is that they start at half the price of other premium audio brands. Raycon says about their product, Raycon is premium audio at the perfect price point so you can build great habits without breaking the bank. And I find that to be true. One of my favorite things about them is the fact that you open the little thing and they instantly pair via Bluetooth. I've been betrayed by Bluetooth probably more than any other technology in my life.
Yeah, quick note on that. You comment on your betrayal by Bluetooth more than any other betrayal you've ever felt. And let me just clarify. I know you pretty well. We've, you know, we've had some highs and lows. Yeah. We've done some life together. You've been an encouragement to me when my heart has been hurting. I'd like to think I've offered you the same in return. But of all the things I've heard you complain about hurting over, I'm not sure I've ever heard you complain about anything as much as bad Bluetooth. That hurts your heart emotionally. Yeah, you bring it up a lot. You really do.
I've complained about how you order at restaurants. You don't remember that?
I do, and that was an irrational complaint. I order at restaurants in a way that is engaging and friendly and crystal clear on what I want.
And takes forever.
I'm buying you time.
You don't buy me time if I've already ordered.
Okay, I have no recourse. I'm
the
a monster.
very first time. Well, hold on, wait just a second. I would like to revisit an old thorn in the side and then acknowledge that it's gone because you've done better. However, the first time we met, well, maybe not the first time, one of the first times we met, we went to a restaurant in Washington, D.C., and we sat down. Where was it? Old Ebbitt Grill. It was the first fancy meal we'd ever eaten together.
Oh, that was fancy. Whoa, that was fancy.
They had a walrus on the wall. And so we were going to eat, and you start ordering. I'm like, what is he doing? Just order this. No. It's got to be like this and this. And I don't want that. I want this. And then I was like, wow. And then I looked at you after the waiter or waitress, I don't remember, left. And I was like, what was that? What just happened?
Yeah, you were appalled. No, I remember it. I remember it vividly. I also remember that there were plenty of other people in that restaurant to be more appalled at. A couple people behind us got real liquored up at a fancy restaurant and got loud. You can't do that at a fancy restaurant. I promise you, none of the waiters were back there while the drunk people were screaming, being like, can you believe that guy specified what kind of setup he wanted on his burger? No. They were talking about the screaming drunk people. But no, I remember that you were appalled.
It was a steak, for the record.
Was it?
Yeah, it was a steak. You didn't want vegetables. Why would I say
you would be picky about a steak?
All I know is that that's where you were in life, and you've gotten better, just like Raycons. Except Raycons have been good the whole time.
Yeah.
You have. What is our offer this time?
I don't know, but you said it wasn't a thorn in the side anymore. I'm like, I don't think I've changed how I order steaks, man. Medium rare
You have.
with a good char. That's how I would order a steak.
The fact that you and I have both religiously almost done that every time we're on the phone with each other since like the dawn of our friendship. I love that about you, man. It's been so fun. it's been so fun. I've enjoyed it.
Likewise. And when you get into that vehicle every time to go drive to get lunch and then call me, you're always frustrated at the horribleness and the inability of your vehicle to do a proper Bluetooth transition. That is also part of our ritual.
Yeah, it's consistent. So, yeah, if you want to get some Raycons, you can do so.
Where the Bluetooth transfer works perfectly every time.
It is. It's solid. So the offer is pretty well written here. I'll just read it. Ready to buy something small with a big impact? Go to buyraycon.com/NDQ today to get 15% off your Raycon order. That's buyraycon.com/NDQ to score 15% off. Go check it out. Just see what they got. See the colors. See the different styles, the models. They have all these different sound profiles built into the earbuds themselves. There are 3 of these sound profiles, and they're as follows. There's pure sound, there's balanced sound, and then there's bass sound. And they each have one thing that they're good for. Like pure sound's great for podcast or audiobook listening, whereas balanced sound would be good for classical, jazz, blues, rock, pop, folk, stuff like that. And of course, bass is good for like hip-hop, EDM, reggae, R&B, that kind of stuff. The way you switch between those profiles is just hold the left earbud down for 3 seconds, and it'll toggle between those sound profiles. They're a great product, affordable price. Buyraycon.com/NDQ.
Thanks to all of you who have purchased Raycons and then given us cool feedback on it. It's great to hear from you on that. And also, thanks to Raycon for being a longtime friend of the program.
Absolutely.
We passed this person.
Mm-hmm.
I said, I'm not going to look at him because I knew it was a him.
It was a dude mistake.
Yeah. And you said, I am going to look. And I was like, well, I'm not, because I'm going to exercise self-discipline and I'm not going to feed the beast that is that stereotype. And for some reason, I just want to add to my stereotype.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to do it.
Yeah.
And I said, but I bet it's a young man, because I had a stereotype. And I didn't say it. I didn't look, but you looked.
Yeah.
For me.
You want to know what he looked
like? I do. I really do.
Do you think it was a dude or a lady?
I think it was a dude. I think he was young, and I think he had one of those headsets on that truckers have sometimes.
Okay.
And he was talking, I don't know, he was like getting after it. Like he was, hey man, we got to get this load, Smokey and the Bandit. You know, I think he was like.
You think he was probably adding letter combinations to the end of numbers?
What do you mean?
Like 6 or 5 or.
Oh, yeah.
22 double
There's
D's.
a 9er in there, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, that's your guess.
Okay, yeah, that's what I think this person was. Like, I'm thinking...
What was he wearing?
Baseball cap.
Okay.
Obviously.
Yeah, probably like a fitted ball cap like you'd see at a baseball game?
No, a trucker hat.
Oh, so like a mesh back.
And a mustache.
You think he might have had a mustache?
I think he had a mustache.
Okay, well, I am very sad to tell you that you are a hateful bigot, and you were wrong about literally only one thing. He didn't have a mustache. Everything else, you're exactly right.
Really?
Yeah,
Am I right?
100%. Yeah, nailed it. He might have been working on a mustache, but he was a very young man. I don't think he was quite there yet.
It was interesting, right? And so...
Yeah. He was who you expected.
Okay, and so I didn't see the person. I saw the activity.
Mm-hmm.
I have... I don't know if it's overfitted or not, but I had a statistical model in my mind. I'm like, that's who this person is.
Mm-hmm.
And it was true.
Mm-hmm.
There's this thing that happens called overfitting. Now, overfitting is something I believe I, probably more than most people you know, fall victim to, because the most biting critique my wife has ever told me, and it was absolutely true. She said, Destin, you're not always right. She said, you're not always right. And you know what I thought in that moment? But I'm right about this. I did think that. And then I crushed my own soul. I was like,
but that's so hard, because what if you were right about that one?
Doesn't
right?
matter.
No,
it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter.
But I did have that thought. But I am right about this, you know? And then
Were you right about that?
That does not matter.
Were you right about that?
It's possible. It doesn't matter.
Okay.
Doesn't matter.
Okay.
So, a thing that I've been working on is I've been working on whatever I think the answer is, I've been working on releasing that in order to recalibrate my statistical model. Now, this gets weird. Before we go further, I need to tell you why overfitting is bad. Now, the only reason I know these words...
Okay. Okay. Sell me on why this is bad.
Okay.
Let me first tell you why I think it's good. And this is just a reiteration of what I've already said.
Okay.
We've seen truckers, often driven by dudes, give those little body language hints with their vehicles in the past. We both knew. We were both eyes up. Nobody looking at phones or distractions. We were both eyes up. We saw his body language, metaphorically speaking, with the vehicle. We have both got a lifetime of saying, when people do that, heads up here, this guy right here.
He's
we
a problem.
both knew it. We both knew he was a threat. And he was a threat. Like, this wasn't cute. He could have killed 6, 8, 10 people with that move.
Yep.
I mean, it was stupid.
Right.
And he did not care.
But he saved 10 seconds, and that's what he was trying to do. He needed that 10 seconds.
Those were really important 10 seconds.
Yeah.
You and I both saw it, and as a result, we both verbally and non-verbally communicated, you're going to have to solve this problem while you're driving, Destin. You did, to the benefit of the 4 or 5 other vehicles around us who would have been potentially catastrophically affected if you hadn't done something. So your fitting or overfitting, as it was, it could be argued that saved somebody's life as recently as yesterday.
No. Overfitting is something different than just having
Statistical models.
Yeah, it's different.
Okay.
My model was on. As we've indicated here. No, that wasn't overfitting. That was probably a good inference based on the statistical data that I had.
So what would it look like to be more open-minded about that guy's behavior?
Okay, let's back up. Let's talk about overfitting, for example. Let me read the definition here, just a straight-up Wikipedia definition of overfitting. In mathematical modeling, overfitting is, quote, the production of an analysis that corresponds too closely or exactly to a particular set of data and may therefore fail to fit additional data or predict future observations reliably. Okay, let's say, how do I do this? Like a picture. Man, this is really hard to explain.
Because it's hard to think of an example of overfitting. I think what you're saying, I think I'm anticipating what you're trying to explain to me.
Let's just go straight to YouTube.
But what we would call intuition, I find to be enormously reliable.
So you're a man who has a YouTube channel, right?
Sure.
You made YouTube videos for a long time about different passages in the Bible, right?
To very, very low effect, yes, I did.
And people have subscribed to your YouTube channel.
They have.
And when people go to your YouTube channel, they expect to see a certain type of content, right?
They do.
Okay, so there's an algorithm. There's a statistical model that Google and YouTube have created to serve videos up to people. What happened the first time you posted a church visit video where you went to this other place and you visited something? What happened there?
It didn't know what to do. I ran straight through the Bible videos for a long time. Then I made a few videos about the Bible, and the algorithm was confused, but it seemed to warm up to that. Then out of the blue, I went and visited an Eastern Orthodox church, and it had no idea what to do with that. And that video, I thought it was so interesting and compelling, and it's beautiful. Look at this place. The guy I interviewed was brilliant, super fun, abrasive in all the right ways, likable in all the right ways. I felt like this should be a good video. And it did nothing.
Why?
Well, I have my theories.
What are your theories?
I think that more primitive iteration of YouTube's algorithm years ago had figured out that people who like certain things also are likely to click on my little Bible videos when they get suggested. And I think my channel had become very pigeonholed in the metaphorical electronic mind of that primitive algorithm. And my audience wasn't very excited about a video of me going to talk to an Eastern Orthodox minister. They didn't like Eastern Orthodoxy. They like red-blooded, Midwestern American Protestantism. And that looked different. And the algorithm didn't know what to do with me all of a sudden.
So it didn't even serve it up to people.
To anybody.
Right.
Nothing. Not even a tiny fraction of my subscribers even saw it. We get access to that data. And it was like that for days and days. I went on a vacation with my family feeling like, man, I can't make that mistake again. That was so much work. I do not make much money on this thing. That was really expensive. That is a total failure. And then I got back into cell phone service, and that awooga sound when the eyes pop out of the head.
Yeah.
And like Scooby-Doo. Wasn't quite that, but it definitely got my attention. I'm like, what the heck? That video was trash. It was just dead. And it got legs. What's going on here? And it just took off.
So you use the word pigeonholed. I don't even know what that term means, but what you mean it to mean is, well, the algorithm has decided what people want to watch, and it only serves that information up to them. Mm-hmm. So it doesn't even put it before some people.
Mm-hmm.
There's a whole bunch of other things at play here, like the thumbnail likelihood that you'll click on it or all this other stuff.
That mattered less back then, but yeah.
But yeah, so this idea that the algorithm has already decided on what this person will like, that can be a way of overfitting. It's like, no, this has the word Eastern Orthodox in it. We're not going to put this in front of other people. Do you ever go to the little tab that says people that are watching your video are also watching this?
Oh, yeah, sure.
Okay. What have you seen there?
It depends on the season. In my channel, when I first started, and I just made videos about Bible passages, which strategically is not the best idea on YouTube. There were some other people doing something vaguely similar, and that's the kind of stuff I would get. People who watch this are watching other very small YouTube channels with people talking about the Bible. And then when I started to make stuff about the Bible, like where did it come from? How did this happen? Well, then that tab was full of really pretty good content, like very thoughtful academic stuff, much smarter than what I had made. And then when I made that first church visit video, that orthodoxy video, it was a mess over there. Now, since then, the insanest thing I've seen is I did some stupid little skit thing where I put a helmet on, talked about like lions, and then I did another one about Egypt, and like just ridiculous like shtick, green screen kind of goof around YouTube stuff. And I made one that absolutely broke the algorithm. It thought that should probably be pitched to people in Pakistan and Russia and all of these other not really English dominant places. And the views, the videos that it was being served alongside, like the people who liked this video of you cracking jokes about the Exodus wearing a pharaoh costume also liked this ad for a second-story condominium in Boca Raton, Florida. Wait, what?
Weird, right?
Uh-huh.
So YouTube will say, oh, well, it'll make these connections. This person watched this video, and they watched 7 minutes of it. And when they watch this video, they watch 7 minutes of it. Therefore, this person must also like this because we happen to serve them this thumbnail and they clicked it. And then they continued to watch here. So whatever's going on in that user's brain means this is the video to show them next. I've talked to some people who they've seen this weird thing where their YouTube channel was doing great. And then all of a sudden, they just saw the views declining. It's not that they changed their content that much, and maybe that was the problem, but it was that YouTube was just serving it up to less and less people. Yeah. And when they started going into that tab to figure out, on the engagement and the traffic sources, what were the other suggested videos, they're seeing crazy stuff. Like, why is my video, which is about whatever, let's say it's about laminar flow, why is it being served up next to this other video about K-pop?
Right.
These are just like genre total mismatches. This person's usually not into this stuff. One is fan-based and one is whatever. And so it's really interesting. And so I think it's possible for an algorithm to overfit. And it can get into a situation where it thinks it understands what a channel is, for example, or it thinks it understands what something else is, but it doesn't actually understand it. But it's laid so many dots on the graph, and it's drawn a curve. Okay, let's say you've got all these dots you've laid down on the map.
You're talking about a curve that is moving, let's say, left to right.
A trend line. You're trying to fit a function to the XYZ data set. Sorry to cut you off. Go ahead.
You're fine.
Yeah, so once that curve is laid down, when I have this next dot that I lay on the map, I interpret what that dot means in the context of the curve I've already put on the map.
Right.
Yeah, because I've already built my model, and now I know how to make decisions based on the data that I put on the graph. So this can be, it's useful, but you can also get into this situation called overfitting. And overfitting is when you have trained your statistical model on a data set that doesn't necessarily represent what's happening in the future. It's like, okay, well, we've always done it this way, then I should be getting this results moving forward. We saw this a lot in rocketry. When you test rockets and stuff like that, you say, oh, well, at this temperature, we should get this thrust because the nozzle will burn away at this ablation rate, and the throat area of the nozzle will grow at this function. But if a manufacturer changes the construction techniques, all the data that we have is based on, I'm going to say this, and this is going to sound like a joke. It is not a joke. There was a factory somewhere in America, and a little old lady retired, and she did a certain thing a certain way, and we could no longer do something because that lady retired, and she did it a certain way. She rolled her hand around the thing in a very particular way and orientation, and it led to a certain result. And then when this lady retired, it completely changed the material properties of what we were doing, and we could no longer, we're like, why is everything not working the way it was?
Somebody was telling me about a lure manufacturer, a fishing lure manufacturer, who made a lure from a cracked mold, and it just works. What it does in the water, it works, but it's born out of chaos. You can't crack the mold that way. Again, he's tried to duplicate it, but this mold, it just broke a certain way with an honest fracture. And he's like, when this thing runs out, I'm out of business. Because it's the flaw that actually makes the thing work.
That's cool. That's really fun. What's the name of the lure? Do you know the name of it?
I don't know the name of it.
That's really interesting. So anyway, overfitting is something that can happen, and I think it's bad. So what are ways that you can imagine to combat overfitting?
Okay, well, I'll give you this example. I think you're right. I think I did run into exactly that on my YouTube channel. There were a lot of pressures that caused me this year to just completely rebrand my YouTube channel. And so it's not even called the 10-Minute Bible Hour anymore. It's just named after me. It's just Matt Whitman. And we don't need to talk about all the reasons that happened. But what I'm about to read to you is one of the reasons. I looked at this screen, which is the tab you were describing. These are the videos that are suggesting your video. And my most recent video, it was a comedic thing about the Exodus. Like, that's it. Like 5 minutes long, pretty harmless.
Are we talking about the See a Baby, Drown a Baby video?
It's the See a Baby, Drown a Baby video. Which
yeah, look, I happen to think it's hilarious. And so what you're doing is there was a thing that happens during the Exodus where Pharaoh's like, okay, we have to kill the babies.
We got too many slaves.
And so you've got to have, like, how do you, like, present that information to the public? That in itself is mind-boggling. That the only ways you could do it is you could just have incredible, like, crack the whip oppression and, like, beyond 1984 type stuff, and you're like, hey, this is what we're doing, and if you don't like it, we kill you immediately. Or you have some kind of, like, persuasive argument. Oh, this is what we're going to do, and this is why.
That's why it's actually good.
Don't you want to get on board? And just the ridiculousness of somebody had to communicate this information of, like, hey, the Pharaoh says we're going to kill the babies. You made a video about that in a comedic way. And
yes.
I, for one, am thrilled that you made it because it was very brave. Also, what the heck does YouTube do with that?
What does it do with that, right? Think about all the things that happened in that. Hebrews, slavery, genocide, oppression, all of those words are in there, but all completely appropriately because of the story that is described there of horrible oppression and genocide and all of these things that went on. And admittedly, the video's kind of gallows humor, like you set up, but
it's sophisticated humor. Like, if you were offended by that video, you don't get it.
Fair enough.
right?
I think so, but I'm pretty biased. So it is what it is. Whatever the case. It's funny. I was negotiating with a sponsor at that point. I don't do a lot of that on my channel. I really, I don't do that. And they were like, okay, well, what do you have coming up? We definitely want to buy a couple videos. And I'm like, cool, I love your stuff. I definitely want to work with you. I've got this one coming up. I think it's going to do so well, but I just don't think we can do it. And so I told them, this is what it is, just for fun. I'm just telling you, there's the preview. It's this see a baby drown a baby video. And they're like, actually, yeah, that's a pretty cool idea. And they were like, could we see the video? We're kind of intrigued. That sounds like funny and bold. And I was like, no, I think it's going to do really well, but I just can't put sponsorship on it. It's too weird a video. Well, thank goodness I didn't, because the video bombed. It did so poorly, I reevaluated everything I was doing with my YouTube channel.
Well, you took a swing. You did something brave, and you were not rewarded.
No. YouTube, I've never seen this before, literally zeroed my video. It got impressions like normal. Like, oh, we're going to put it in front of people for the first couple hours. And then you can almost see the moment where the YouTube algorithm
Figured out.
is like, wait, what are we doing over? Yeah, we're just going to need to hit the red button. And it's just like, oh, here's a little graph. It's going up flat. Just dead. The thing was getting 100 impressions on a YouTube channel with north of 200,000 subscribers. It was getting 100 impressions a day.
Impressions.
Not views.
Impressions.
Impressions. And I'm like, well, what the heck? All in the service of how do you fix overfixing? I still remember your question. I'm like, all right, well, let's see where those impressions are coming from. You ready for this?
I am.
Skyrim anniversary playthrough. That was the video where they most put it out.
Wow.
Yeah. The Dark Knight and some other stuff about Batman.
Really?
Huh? What is reforestation? Wait, what is happening right now? Dad stuns school board and something else. Skyrim. Let's steal those coins. What? He's getting rid of girls because I don't know what the rest of that one even says. Deuce Staley meets with the what?
So basically, I'm imagining, okay, I'm YouTube. I don't want to show this video to people because I'm an algorithm and I can't think in nuance and humor and stuff like that or whatever. I'm going to put it somewhere like, hey, we got to put it in front of people because if we literally show it to nobody, it's going to be clear that we axed it.
Right.
So what if we just put it somewhere where only 14-year-old boys go and watch playthrough videos that are 2 hours long, and they're only going to click on the next Skyrim video. They're not going to click on anything else. Like maybe these people are so hyper niche that they only watch one thing, and if they put it there, they know it won't get clicks.
Interesting.
I don't know. I have no idea what would happen, but I think it's fascinating. I mean, to be fair, I understand why YouTube does that, right? Because
sure,
a video about harm to babies, that's a big deal.
That's not going to play well with your
their
conservative Christian type.
No, with their advertisers.
Don't want to put it in front of people who like the Bible. They won't like talking about that. So, I mean, I think the YouTube algorithm brain went right to political stuff.
Yeah, oh yeah,
really,
absolutely.
First and foremost, not the point of the video. But I think that's what popped for it.
It makes sense, but it's too... I mean, like, where would you put that on the XY graph? You've got this curve.
Right.
I'm going to take this data point, and I'm going to put it on that graph. Where do you even put that?
Yeah, I made a mess, didn't I? Dude, my ad revenue on that, I'm not going to pull it up, but I can tell you it's in the double digits.
Really?
I don't think I made $40 on that video.
We agree that it was good for your soul to make it.
That's as much fun as I've ever had making a video. Like the other one where I sat in the basement and strapped on that beard where you can clearly see the rubber band going around my hideous bald head and I'm just shrieking into the camera. That and the Pharaoh outfit video, that's honestly probably the most fun I've ever had in the history of YouTube, and they didn't do anything.
Okay, so let me go this way. So overfitting, we have a good idea of what that is. Overfitting is when you you train a statistical model based on a given data set, basically overfit it so much so every piece of new data you put on that XY plot, you're going to interpret in the context of all the data that you've done in the past.
It's been so reliable for so long, but then the slightest little thing changes and it can't account for that? Is that what you mean?
But what's interesting is if you were to take all these XY data plots, and I'm imagining a curve, like a U-shaped curve.
Why is it a U-shaped curve? Why does it manifest that way visually?
I don't know. That's just what's happening in my brain right now.
Okay, cool.
So if we were to take that data and we were to magic 8-ball, shake up the graph and somehow pull that curve off and then look at all the new data again, we might draw the curve differently. You see what I'm saying?
Oh, yes.
Yeah, the curve might be a little bit higher, or it might actually be concave instead of convex, you know?
It's kind of like when people rerun a year of the National Football League draft 10 years later. Like, we had all this data then, and we were sure enough to throw millions of dollars at these picks in this order. This is what the data looks like now. It's sort of, we would draw that curve in a different place.
Well, it's different than saying, well, I'm going to restart a simulation with a different random seed. It's different than that.
I think I understand that.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So it's the same data, it's just interpreted differently.
Yes.
Okay.
So where does the little old lady then, wait a minute, I want to make sure I get it. Where does the little old lady who's no longer there to twist this thing just so factor into what you just said?
I just thought it was an interesting story.
Oh, well, come on.
But I guess what we could say is we were expecting the mechanical thing she had worked on to perform the same as it always has, and it wasn't. Therefore, we thought the problem was somewhere else because we know that's reliable, so it can't be that. You know what I mean? So we just made an assumption, like, I don't know why that's working. Our acceleration must be different, or something like that.
Okay, I understand what to do with that anecdote now.
Okay.
Yeah, okay, I get it.
Plus, I just thought it was a cool story.
It's a cool story.
Destin, give me the 30-second elevator pitch explanation for this new public sponsorship auction program we're doing.
Yeah, it's there's a website, notumquestions.fm/sponsor. You go there, there's a big button right at the front there. It says, hey, something like make a bid, and you place a blind bid, and we literally get a spreadsheet on the other side of that Google form, and we organize it, and we go to the top, and if it's something that we are excited to promote, we will do that sponsorship. We'll run it, and yeah, I think it's really cool because it's a way to get the community involved. And I enjoy it. I like hearing what everybody's working on. It's really cool. I'm excited about it. What about you?
I love people who see a problem and solve a problem. I love people who take action and do things. They inspire me. I respect them. And what I saw in that spreadsheet last time around was a whole stack of people who were wired just like that, asking if we could find a way to partner together. And I was a little bit sad that there could only be one winner, but for now, those are the rules. There's only one winner per episode. So I would be enthusiastic to hear what other people are working on and to see if it might be your thing that we get to talk about next time around.
It's really fun to see who sees it as an opportunity. They're like, wait a second, I bet a lot of people listen to this. I want them to hear about my thing. And they do it. And the free market does what the free market does. I'm looking at a spreadsheet right here. Again, that's notumquestions.fm/sponsor. There's a lot of really interesting ideas. My favorite ones were in the concept or idea category. But there's this clear line of demarcation in terms of value that people bid. And there's this other group of people that are like, you know what? This makes sense because I like the program for certain reasons and I want people to know about my thing. And so there is a whole handful of legitimate, serious bids here. And I appreciate that. Anybody that did that, I'm grateful. And what we're going to do here, is my understanding, is we're going to promote this first one, and we're going to go down the list, and we're just going to keep refreshing this sponsorship bid. Anytime we have an opportunity to do this, the rules are on the website. If you would like to bid, we would appreciate that. But this person made it very clear they were going to win. Like the way they conducted themselves in the thing, they were like, yeah, this is important, and this could change the nature of the business that we're going to promote. And I think it will, don't you?
I'm very hopeful, and I want to echo what you said to everybody. Okay, first of all, to everybody who just took the time to crack a joke or whatever and put in like a 30-cent bid, I still thought that was really funny, and I appreciate you even taking the time to do that. I smiled, I giggled at stuff. But especially to those of you who thought seriously about what it would look like to promote something you care about on this program and then went and put in a bid commensurate with that. That was just a really nice gesture. But it was
Very
cool
thoughtful
of you to take that creative opportunity to express that you find value in what we do, I found it to be oddly encouraging and just surprisingly appreciated. So seriously, thank you for that.
Yeah, I think the word that sums up how I feel about this spreadsheet is gratitude. They see what we're trying to do with this whole program. Something I thought would be interesting is you and I talked to the person that won, and they are actually promoting something for someone else.
It's not even for the person who won the auction.
I think I'd like to play that little audio clip that we recorded with the person that won that explained why they bid and why they won. Do you think that's appropriate now, or?
Yeah, to be clear, we did a Zoom call with the person who won to learn more about what they wanted to have promoted and how it would all work. They honored us with a real bid, and we want to honor them with a real ad that actually gets it done. So we did what we would do with any sponsor, which is meet with a representative or whoever bought the ad and find out what they care about and what they want to emphasize, what they hope happens, where they want us to try to encourage or convince you who are listening to go to look at what they're about. And so we did that. And in the middle of it, you asked a question that I thought was just very, very human, and we got a very, very human answer. And yes, I would love to share it.
This is us interviewing a guy named Scott Wilke. Scott won for his daughter's business. He wants to promote his daughter's business, which I think is beautiful in so many ways. And we asked him why he bid. So we're going to play that right now. Scott, why did you reach out and run this ad?
A couple reasons. Number one is incredibly proud of Anna and the work that she's putting in to get her business up and off the ground. And I think the service that she is providing is really important. And also because I like the way you guys are going about this. I think it's a great way, not just to support your program, but to engage your community, the folks who love your podcast.
In the moment, you were like, well, let's hit record and see what we get. And I was like, oh, okay, well, we're probably not going to do anything with that. And then I was sitting there and I was all like dad emotional about a dad looking out for his little girl. I'm like, that's how I feel. I'm never going to stop loving those two little girls. I hope I do things to do. Like I was feeling all that. So yeah, I felt things. So if you want to learn more about it or you want to put in a bid, you can go to nodumbquestions.fm/sponsor. And thanks in advance for considering that. This episode of No Dumb Questions is brought to you by Anna Wilke, who is a registered dietitian and nutritionist. Destin, what comes to mind when you hear those words?
To the uneducated person like myself, who I didn't know anything about this before I started looking into it, I was like, oh, what is this? Is this like one of those stores that you go to when you want to lose a few pounds? Is that the kind of thing?
Yeah.
The answer is no. The more I dug into this, the more I realized this is a professional service that is offered when someone gets a diagnosis, for example. Like, let's say the doctor says, hey, you need to eat less sodium. Well, what the heck does that mean? Or, hey, you've got diabetes. Here's a pamphlet. Figure it out. Whatever the doctor told me in those 30 seconds before he or she walked out the door, I would be clinging to that.
I just wouldn't hear it. I'd still be focused on the diagnosis, and like I wouldn't even know what to do. I'd be lost.
So this is what Anna does. So a registered dietitian nutritionist, this is a whole profession. She had to go test. Like, she works at a hospital, which we're not going to mention here, but she's doing this on the side for other people because she recognized that there are people that get this super intimidating, whatever it is, diagnosis, or they have to change their life in some way, but they don't want to like lose the joy that food brings to their life. So they need to change and have a better relationship with food and understand how to fuel their body, but they don't want to make drastic changes that sucks the joy out of their life. And so she's a realist. She understands, hey, you're a human. You need to have this joy in your life. These are some things you can do in order to eat healthier, for example. And so my understanding is you actually talked to her. Is that right?
Yeah, I did my first session, and it was great. And one of the very first things that I...
Hold on, wait. You called her and did... That's the product, right? She offers these sessions. It's almost like a counseling session, right?
Yeah, well, that's exactly what it was like, except I didn't feel like deeply psychoanalyzed or anything like that. Yeah, it was friendly and smart, and I had a billion questions that I've stored up over the course of my life about food and diet, and like, hey, when I eat this, why does this happen? And if I eat this combined with this, I get good results. And if I do this other thing, I'm hungry right away in like 2 hours. Why is that? I just peppered her with stuff, and then finally I realized I was being a social idiot. And I was like, I apologize. This is probably not how this is supposed to work. And she's like, well, a lot of times this is what happens in my first session is people have noticed things over the course of their lives and they have questions. So that's good.
Interesting. So was it like a Zoom call?
Yeah, it was a Zoom call. And this would be our introductory session to get a sense of my lifestyle and my dietary habits and any specific needs that I might have medically. And so those are the things she asked me about right away. And I didn't have any dietary issues to report, like, a celiac diagnosis or something like that, diabetes, nothing like that going on. I just told her that I wanted to jump at the opportunity to be the one of the two of us to do this and actually experience the service because I would like to change my relationship with food. Because I have some habits I really like and that I'm proud of. And I have some other habits that don't make me feel good. And I'm not sure they're sustainable moving into the next decade of life. And I'd like to develop some new habits without just wrecking all the stuff that I do that is mostly working and that tastes good and makes me happy. And she was super receptive about that. And then we just set off on working on a plan.
So I talked to my dad about this. I was like, hey, Dad, this is the person that is going to do the sponsorship on No Dumb Questions. And he said, really? I said, yeah, I think this would be good for you. He's like, yeah, because the way my dad does things is he's like, I need to lose weight. I'll just quit eating.
I can't fully speak for Anna, but I don't think she would recommend that.
No, I know. But so, a lot of times when you don't know what to do, you just do things. But my dad is super smart. Dad, I know you're listening. I love you. And I'm gonna get Dad a session with Anna Wilke because I think she would do a really good job because this is the kind of thing you can give to someone else. There's so many different ways this could help somebody's life. Anna has a bachelor's degree from Auburn University in dietetics and nutrition. She also has a master's degree from the University of Alabama in the same subject. I think she would still say her allegiance lies with Auburn. That's for a different time. The deal is she is a super smart person that had to study, take an exam. She knows what she's talking about. So you are getting top-notch medical advice from Anna if you do this. So I think it's a great thing, and it can actually help your life.
And Anna, this is something that really stood out to me. In the second half of our conversation, I was getting into really detailed stuff. Like, I like this meal, this meal, this meal. Every week I eat this meal with these components at least once. Here's how I feel after. What am I doing wrong? What should I change? And the first thing that I loved about her answer was at no point was she like, well, you just have to get rid of that forever. You agreed to a meeting with me. Now that thing can't be a part of your life anymore, or else you're rejecting my advice. No, this is like you listen to your body, and eating should be one of the joys of life. But she was also able to say with each of these 3 meals that I mentioned that I really like, she's like, you don't have enough of this. That particular meal is not complemented with enough fiber. And then she went into chemist mode and was like, and what that means is that as your body digests and breaks down this material that you're getting from this other part of your meal, it is going to go too fast, and you need this other thing to contribute to that digestion happening properly. And then you get all the energy out of that food over X amount of time. And I'm sitting here writing down notes and learning a ton of stuff. It wasn't like lazy pop advice like you get from a friend. Everybody has an opinion when you have a cold or when your stomach's a little upset. It was not that.
Yep.
It was dialed science. She had a why for everything with specific numbers and facts and figures and ratios and things that I could take with me and understand and immediately implement. I thought it was fantastic.
So if you want to change your relationship with food and understand how to better fuel your body without having to make drastic menu changes in your life, please consider going to AnnaWilkeRD.com. Is there a promo code, or how does this work? You actually spoke to her. I just spoke to her dad. What's the promo code?
Yeah, she's doing this all completely legit. There's a promo code and everything. So you go to AnnaWilkeRD.com, ANNA WILKERD.com. That'll be down in the show notes. And there's a giant button that you click. It's labeled Work With Me. You click that button, and then you use the code NDQ15, and you get 15% off your first nutrition counseling session.
No way. She did a promo code.
And it's a good one. Like it's like,
That's a
she's
good one.
Smart. She went and did the one that we've used with other things so people would remember it. Clever, Anna. Clever.
That's very smart. Yeah, go check out Anna. We're grateful. This could be a home run, dude. This could kickstart Anna's business. She's killing it. I'm so excited for this as being the first sponsorship we're doing like this.
And my honest feedback would be that I was concerned that I would go into this session and that the point would be like, I'm going to help you lose 3 pounds or something silly and trite like that. Or I'm just going to tell you not to eat 10 things you love. There, you're welcome. It wasn't like that at all. It was an empathetic, thoughtful conversation that delivered on exactly what she promises, which is get me to think in different categories about my relationship with food.
Thank you so much, Scott Wilke, for sponsoring this episode of No Dumb Questions by asking people to go to AnnaWilkeRD.com. I hope that Anna's inbox is just flooded and she has a lot of good quality leads.
Thanks, Scott. Thanks, Anna. Thanks to all of you who put in bids on this thing. And as always, thanks to all of you who go and check out and support the sponsors, because when you do, you support the program.
So we talk about the YouTube algorithm being overfitted. I think there's another thing happening. I think we as people are starting to overfit, and we are starting to be trained by these overfitted algorithms. For example, if we were to pull somebody out of whatever 20 years ago and set them down in front of a data set of all these journal articles and say, which one is most interesting to you? Are they going to go to the incredibly sensational, clearly not well-researched article with the thumbnail of the people doing the hands to the side and like crazy mouth agape, eyeballs really wide, thumbnails and all this? Are they going to go to that and be like, oh, that's reliable information? Or are they going to go to something else? So we, as consumers of content now, we naturally are presented with information that have sensational thumbnails. It has just crazy stuff. And as a result, the people making the content that we consume, as we discovered in our reading of Hate Incorporated, they're financially incentivized to make the sensational stuff. So I think it would be really interesting if we were just to shake everything up and say, hey, what is actually good content? Because what we think is good content right now is not.
Yeah,
I
agree. First of all, let me just strongly affirm that we have lost our way in terms of what is good content. I love your term that we were trending toward YouTube being the Library of Alexandria. It isn't doing that anymore because that isn't rewarded. I'm not saying I'm a contributor to the Library of Alexandria. My conversation, my stuff it's a separate deal. For crying out loud, I'm wearing a pharaoh costume and yelling at a camera. But I mean like the brilliant stuff. We were churning out deep water, educational, thoughtful content left and right. All these, like the heyday of YouTube to me was like 4 years ago, 5 years ago. So many talented people making so much stuff and that constantly being pushed to the forefront. Then something happened and I'm not sure humanity changed first. I think somebody cracked the code of the algorithm and fed so much data back into that algorithm that it started to change what people expected. It started to change, like you're saying, like, more than a feedback loop. It figured out how to weaponize our own brains against us, and we started clicking on dumber things. It's kind of an odd way to get to idiocracy, but I feel there's a risk that it's the same result.
Let's talk about consequences of overfitting. And to be fair, dude, I'm not a computer scientist. I'm not a machine learning guy. These may be the wildly incorrect terms to be using here, and I think grammatically what I just said even sucked.
It worked for me. I'm
okay,
fine.
You know what I'm trying to say.
If the point is to be understood, you were successful.
Okay, so consequences of overfitting. Reading straight from the Wikipedia page right now. The most obvious consequence of overfitting is poor performance on the validation data set. Other negative consequences include, and we got all this other stuff. I think a lot of times our algorithms are overfit, meaning we know the exact video that Matt Whitman will click Therefore, we will give him this video on monkeys playing disc golf because this is the exact video he will watch.
Is that an actual video? I would like to see that.
I know. And so
You knew.
we know the exact video you will watch because we have so much data on your click and watch habits. So we know exactly what you will watch. Therefore, we're going to drive you so hard into this, not echo chamber, but this niche interest, enthusiasm cavern. I don't know what it is. I would like to see algorithms that intentionally have taste-breaking stuff built in. And I know people at Google and YouTube are smart, and they're doing this on an individual level. I know for a fact because, dude, if you could see the amount of machinist videos I have right now popping up on every social media, anything, it's because they know I'm trying to learn this, and when I see somebody do it right, like Titans of CNC, I'm like, oh, wow, these people are amazing. I'll never be that good, but it's really fun to watch somebody that's good. They
I just
know,
get tennis on top of tennis on top of tennis.
they know I will watch that. And it's really interesting. And so I would like to know what other data is being injected into these algorithms to refresh the algorithm to make sure that it's not overfit for the person. I don't know the answer to this. I just think it's an extremely interesting topic. I also think on the other side, it's extremely interesting from a person who makes content perspective. How many people have you seen, they make a video and they've done all this video and they've tried to make it work, and then finally they make this one video of them doing whatever and it works. And so the next 12 videos, oh, well, I guess I'm the Count Chocula review channel now. You know what I mean?
Are you concerned I'm going to do too many videos about AI art?
No, I'm not at all.
Okay.
No, I think it's fun. I mean, like, for example, you just did this video about, I'm going to type the Bible into artificial intelligence art and see what happens. I called you and I said, hey, congratulations, Matt. What did I say?
I don't know. It's something like that. You just
No. You remember, I said the joke before you could. I said, I would like to congratulate you on your new artificial intelligence Bible art channel.
Okay, I do remember that. Yes, that's funny.
Yeah, because, the joke is, well, you had a success. Now you must do that 20 times in a row.
Pigeon push button, get food.
Yeah,
Pigeon push button, more.
right.
Yeah.
What do you think about all this?
I see what you're talking about in my Spotify. I'm trying to think of practical ways. I'm not sure what to do with my brain and what happens when I see a truck driver do something stupid. I'm not quite there in terms of personal applicability yet, but I do know I've created feedback loops. I do believe, if I'm using this term properly, I have assisted many algorithms in my life with an overfitting problem. I see that in my music. I keep an annual playlist on Spotify. It was really good for several years, and then 2 years ago, I just couldn't find good stuff. It wasn't popping up. I just couldn't find the right places to look. It was like I lost my touch. Are my ears going bad? What's wrong? Well, my kids put Spotify on the Xbox, and they started listening to show tunes and stupid kid stuff. And I was like, guys, you're going to ruin my algorithm. What are you doing? Dozens of people count on me for these playlists. You got to stop it. Well, all of a sudden I start getting all these suggestions. They're really interesting and reawaken old curiosities about music. And all of a sudden I'm walking around the house singing stuff from Man of La Mancha, which I haven't heard since I was 11 and forgot was even a musical. And all of a sudden I'm searching out all of this additional music. And now my algorithm, my feedback loop that I've created with Spotify, is wide open, and it's super, super interesting.
You've injected new data into
I've
the
injected
set.
new data. My kids did. Got to give them credit. So you asked me the question earlier, and then I took us way down the rabbit hole with here's what happened with my silly video, and here's what videos were supposed to. You were asking me the question, what do you do to counter this? I'm telling you, I don't have that solved yet. I'm new to this idea. I don't know what to do in life, but with my digital dealings, I just want to shake up the ant farm, man. Let's dig these tunnels again. I don't want to hurt any of the ants, but let's just dig the tunnels again here. Let's dig new pathways and let's see what we get. I got a little taste of that with Spotify. This conversation has inspired me to just go and remember old things I was interested in or old things that I wanted to be interested in. I remember when I wanted to learn how to play the cello. I think I'm just going to go try to learn a few things about that and see what that injects into this digital landscape that I've overfitted myself into a corner on, and see if in some way I can start by just refreshing the digital input that is coming back into me in my life to get me out of this maybe lack of creativity and shrinking horizons bubble that I perhaps have accidentally got myself into. That's me. Where's it taking you?
This is taking me to the Deepwater place. And unfortunately, I'm going to have to go after this, but I do want to tell you this. I have realized that in my personal relationships with other people, especially people I love dearly, my children, my wife, my parents, my best friends, me and you, people that we have really, really good relationships, I have noticed that it is possible that I interpret present events through the lens of my past statistical data set with those people. Meaning, the way she said that, did she mean this or did she mean that? I think, and then I am likely to interpret it in a negative way, often depending on how I'm feeling in the moment. But, like, for example, teenagers are very difficult to communicate with at times. Sometimes they're great to communicate with. But if I have a certain inflection in the voice, and it was similar to the time we had that argument that time, I'm likely to interpret it as a negative thing when they might just be tired and they're trying to express, I need help. I am, especially when I'm tired, especially when I'm under stress, when I don't know that, we're dads, right?
Yeah.
We worry about providing for our families.
Yeah.
We worry about being a good father, a good husband. We worry about, do they know I care? Do they know I love them? It's weird that sometimes when we're stressed out and we most desperately want people to know that we love them and they love us, those little inflection points and pinch points in the way we communicate, we interpret that as negative. I am learning that sometimes it's just my overfit algorithm and I'm quick on the fuse. I'm learning that.
Here's what's fascinating, though. I know this because when I'm under pressure, that's when I typically make that exact same mistake. I don't have time right now because of the way I'm trying to help people out and do good things or get my work done or get out the door or whatever. I don't have time to use fresh interpretive lenses on this situation. I've got to fall back on previously established patterns to interpret what's going on. And generally speaking, if I'm under pressure and stress, so are other people in the room, which means I'm not getting an accurate read and my previous data betrays me. And this just tends to be when I'll step on a toe or misplay a conversation or read a thing wrong or misattribute motivations. On the rare occasions that I've seen you fumble that ball a little bit, it's usually under those same conditions where there isn't time to apply your present empathy brain to the situation. So we just got to fall back on banked data that maybe isn't totally current.
The statistical model.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Do you feel criticized by that?
No.
Okay.
I feel like truth is spoken. I don't know. The number one place where this manifests in my life is when I'm having an interaction with someone and they're doing something and I ascribe a motive to whatever it is they're doing or whatever it is they said. And often, I don't know why, but my statistical model does this, I'm biased towards the negative at times. Like, I'm a pretty optimistic person, but like...
Yeah, that's an understatement.
But like, if specifically with the people that I love the most, I'm more likely to interpret it through the lens of the negative side of that curve than the positive, especially when I'm ascribing a motive. Oh, they're just doing this because of this, or they don't feel this way about me and they're doing this, and they don't understand what I feel like right now. It's all selfish, and I don't know. I think the selfish side of that interpretation algorithm is one that I am biased to. I don't know. I'm overfit to my personal interpretation of events is often overfit to assume that I am the only benevolent actor in the room and everyone else is not as benevolent as myself.
Interesting thing about you, though, is you are much more likely than me to give the benefit of the doubt to people in the public sphere, people in the public eye, people who said something on Twitter. I go pretty quick to ascribe negative motives to that kind of thing. Now, I'll also ascribe it to people in my personal life, like you just described. I'm not proud of that, but I can do that as well. But you are much more gracious with people beyond your reach than I think I am sometimes. And I think the overfitting, I think that's maybe a way that our strengths, I would say your strength and my strength are similar. Pattern recognition at the most basic level. I think you're really good at that, and I aspire to be good at that. I think that's maybe a way that strength could betray a person a little bit. And I'm perhaps contending with that too.